Some of the most absurd powers of the divine are now yours with level 8 magic. Hello there everyone, welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Running behind, of course, you'll notice that we didn't have our level 8 spell guide for the first edition Pathfinder Cleric up on Wednesday. Sorry about that, life being what it is, but we are here today to go over those magics that we have on offer for you at level 8, and you have a pretty good selection. Tasty, might I even say. Certainly there are spells to avoid, some spells that are okay, some spells that are situationally incredibly effective, but overall these spells here today are going to be ones that are going to be some of the most broadly useful across different campaign styles. Whatever the setting may be, you're going to find something effective here that you can make ready use of almost regardless of your build. But before we get into everything we have on offer for you, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Now, let's start talking about these spells for you. So starting us off, we have Dimensional Lock. Select a 20-foot radius within 100 feet plus 10 feet per caster level. All extra-dimensional forms of travel, including astral projection, blink, dimension door, ethereal jaunt, etherealness, gate, maze, plane shift, shadow walk, teleport, and similar spell-like abilities are blocked for 1 day per caster level. Now, this doesn't affect movement of ethereal or astral form creatures or their extra-dimensional perception and attacks. If they are already shifted over, they're fine, but anything that has not become ethereal or is astrally projecting themselves, they're going to have all of that prevented. Dimensional Lock is pretty great, and the fact that it lasts for 1 day per caster level means you can have things locked down pretty damn nicely all the way around. You'll keep the places very, very secure for you and your party, or at least prevent the escape of different things for you and your party, especially if you need to do any kind of interrogation, information gathering. You don't want those pesky casters or these dimension hoppers escaping quite so easily from you. Next, we have Euphoric Tranquility, widely hailed as one of the best spells ever, and I'm inclined to agree. Touch target creature, and for 1 round per caster level, they treat all creatures as friends and are non-violent, moving at half speed and won't attack or cast spells. If they are attacked, they get a will save, and on success, they act normally for 1 round. On failure, they move at half speed from their attacker. Spell resistance applies. This doesn't get a save. So the 1 round per caster level, that's not an incredible amount of time. I mean, at this level, it's not bad. Several rounds that a target's going to be out, but it's not enduring like anything for 1 minute per caster level or anything like that. But this will absolutely mess with whatever target you hit with this. The only drawback is that you have to touch the target, but bear in mind that if you're following this build and you're in plate armor, you're going to be pretty durable. You're going to have the means to get in close. You're boosting yourself to be large size, potentially flying or running around through the air, able to reach down and strike a target, slap them, touch them, whatever you got to do to put Euphoric Tranquility on them. This will shut a target down really, really hard. Also, while this is on them, this is not necessarily a side thing, but just something I didn't quite have room for. They're treated as being very helpful, so you can get a lot of information out of a target pretty quickly with this. So if you do need to get interrogating, but you don't want to resort to unsavory means of accessing it, well, this is still a little bit unsavory, but at least this way you're not laying out all kinds of abuse on the target. A helpful target will divulge so much more information. But then we have Frightful Aspect, and for 1 minute per caster level, you become large size and emit a fear aura. You gain a +6 size bonus to your strength score, a +4 size bonus to constitution, a +6 natural armor bonus, damage reduction 10, and spell resistance 10 plus 1/2 your caster level. Creatures in a 30-foot radius around you are shaken, and when they hit you in melee, they are frightened for 1d4 rounds. However, this does end the effect of the aura for them. So, shaken, great that you're just emitting this as an extra, and then if anything does manage to hit you in the fight, they're gonna be frightened for 1d4 rounds. Great debuffs to just be throwing out there. Shaken normally might be just kind of good, not great, but the fact that this is just a constant freebie that goes along with this spell makes this pretty great to have there. So all the way around, this is going to give you a massive boost, especially if you're wielding anything like a polearm. Becoming large size, having your equipment increase with size with you, you're going to have an incredible amount of reach, the strength to really take advantage of using a two-handed weapon. You're going to deal some incredible damage, and you have defenses to go with this. Don't forget that +6 size bonus to your strength. That's another +3 bonus right there on top of everything else we have so far. So you are going to be keeping up pretty nicely in melee. You're not going to be outpacing a fighter that's really specialized into this, or a barbarian, or paladin, or any of those classes, especially since we haven't really fully dedicated ourselves into melee. But with your spells and buffs coming into play, you are going to have a wide variety of options on the battlefield, whatever you may end up needing to do. Then we have Summon Monster 8. This allows you to summon 1d3 monsters from Summon Monster 7, Summon Monster 7, or 1d4 plus 1 from lower Summon Monster spells. Now you can summon creatures like Frost Giants, Barb Devils, Elder Elementals, and Gorgons. And again, spamming out a bunch of Succubi for their spell-like abilities, for all their different charming effects that you can throw down on your opponents, still completely viable. And some guides don't really favor the Summon Monster spells because, or at least at Summon Monster 8, they feel like creatures like the Elder Elementals really aren't that much of a threat, and I can see their point, but at the same time, again, it's not just the threat that they necessarily present themselves. You're also getting a benefit of positioning, of being able to create flanking opportunities, of being able to cut off opponents, get a little bit of battlefield control going. And again, opponents that strike at these summoned monsters are not striking at you or your allies, so for that, I really do rate these a bit higher individually on their own. Yeah, these creatures might not be the most incredible threat at these character levels, but they are still going to be useful, and also they may not be attacking opponents that are on par with themselves either. You might be summoning these in to help clear out a bunch of chaff or moderate threat opponents, in which case these might actually prove to be much more useful. But again, it's going to depend a little bit, and don't forget, we have with our feats means of boosting the number of creatures we're summoning, and also have some alternate options. So explore, play around with things a little bit, try to plan out ahead of time, and if you can, try to keep some of the monster statistics handy for yourself that you think you're going to be summoning fairly regularly. That way the DM doesn't necessarily have to always be the one to look them up. Next, we have Greater Angelic Aspect. Grant yourself the aspect of an angelic being for 1 minute per caster level and gain 60-foot low light and dark vision, damage reduction 10, immunity to acid, cold, petrification, resistance 10 to electricity and fire, a +4 racial bonus on saves versus poison, a +4 deflection bonus to your AC, and resistance bonus on saves to allies within 20 feet, per the magic circle against evil spell, lesser globe of invulnerability, and you gain tongues as a benefit, which is pretty nice. Again, normally tongues maybe not the most incredible spell ever, but the fact that this is just piggybacking along with everything else is pretty good. And the only reason I don't give the +4 deflection bonus a higher rating is you may already have a Ring of Protection giving you a +3 or +4 deflection bonus, decreasing the value of that by a fair bit. But that said, you're still getting an incredible amount of benefit here, particularly if you're playing a human. Being able to have 60-foot low light and dark vision is going to be huge for you, assuming you don't have another magical means of going over that, like goggles that provide you dark vision or something to that effect. And then we have an interesting one that I found while reading through the spell lists on the system reference document. We have Rift of Ruin. Pick a spot in 400 feet plus 40 feet per caster level, so the best range you could possibly get, and open up a 5-foot wide, 60-foot deep extra dimensional hole that's 5 feet long per caster level. This lasts 1 round per caster level as well. Any large or smaller creature must make a reflex save to avoid falling in. Success means they pick which side of the rift they are on. Falling means they take 6d6 falling damage. Starting on the turn they're in the pit, they take another 66 randomly selected damage from acid, bludgeoning, cold, electricity, fire, piercing, slashing, or sonic damage. Each round they may make a reflex save for half damage, which does negate just a little bit, and attempt a DC 25 climb check to make it out. Now, flying opponents might have an easier time. The climb check is not necessarily going to be the most difficult check for opponents to make at this level, but the fact that this is giving you a little bit of battlefield control, that this has such incredible range, that is going to be huge. But we're not quite done with this just yet, because when the spell ends, targets are ejected and take double damage from the rift's environs and are left prone. At any time during the spell's duration, you can voluntarily end the spell to summon demons as if you'd use Summon Monster 7 and remain for the remaining rounds of Rift of Ruin would have lasted for. So if you only had it going for 3 rounds and you had another, let's say, 13 rounds ready to go, well, then these creatures are going to be around for 13 rounds. And you can summon either 1 Bebelith, 1 Vrock, 1d3 Shadow Demons, 1d3 Succubi, 1d4 plus 1 Babaus, or 1d4 plus 1 Brimarax. And spell resistance doesn't apply to this spell. So already you can see some massive benefits here. This is dealing damage, and while the damage is random, there's a big enough variety there that you're probably going to be dealing a decent amount of damage to a couple of different targets at least. And again, battlefield control on top of that, potentially summoning at the end of it. Any targets that are still in there are knocked prone and are taking double damage. I mean, that's staggeringly good. That's actually really, really, really fun. I really like Rift of Ruin. Something I'm going to have to play around with, I think. But lastly, we have one more spell here. We're not going to cover spells to avoid this time around. We'll see how I feel for next Wednesday. But we have Tomb Legion. You basically summon 1d4 plus 2 mummies that last for 7 days if they're traveling with you, or 7 months if they're set to guard a specific place. If you're going the Rotten Herald Necromancer kind of cleric, these don't count against the hit dice total for undead that you're allowed to have with you. That's really, really damn cool. I mean, mummies are fairly powerful undead in and of themselves. They're like not the most amazingly powerful, but they're still better than regular zombies, regular skeletons, several other kinds of undead. And you could have at minimum 3. You're probably going to have 4 or 5 on average most of the time. So that's going to add a significant amount of help for you and your allies, especially if you're mixing in summoning and the like. I mean, this is a great spell. But, you know, not all undead are necessarily going to do amazing in every encounter, but these ones should see you through pretty well for quite a number of them. And again, the fact that they're lasting for 7 days is the biggest selling point. I mean, these are helpers that don't need to sleep. Having 3 relatively powerful minions on hand for 7 days that don't need to sleep, don't need to rest, can keep an eye on you and your friends, awesome. Great spell to have. And again, you can have them guarding a specific place too, supplementing any other NPCs you might have back at your home base for 7 months. That's absolutely great. This is an awesome spell. Definitely recommend it for certain builds. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below either way so that we can try and engage in discussion. And remember, if you're new here to the Gamers Den, you've made it this far, so you must have enjoyed something, so why not go down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time. Good gaming to you all. And you all have yourselves a good night.